everybody. Let's see here. Let me just make sure. Great. All right. So let's just take a deep breath and show up in the room. I guess as a few more people will come filtering in. If anyone has anything that they'd like to talk about tonight or anything that they'd like mentioned, feel free to put it in the chat and I'll take a look and find a way to include it. Otherwise, I feel like we have a bit of a foundations class on our hands. So we've come in from a busy day. Give yourself a chance to just find that gentle entrance into this moment. All these loud stories pushing and pulling you around. Just let the story be the story. And you just find your gentle entrance into this moment. Thank you, Lynn. I'm so sorry to hear that. We'll talk about that. Let yourself just slow way down. This moment outside of the story is waiting for you. Right here. It's still. It's dynamic. It's not chaotic. It's there to show you what's real. Even amidst all the things that feel pretty darn real. This is the you that isn't temporary. You know, as I enter this class today, I had a very important meeting at the end of my workday. Past the end of my workday, really. One of those meetings that a lot rides on how that goes. And I'm connected to people who are feeling a lot of stress about it, and I feel that stress, and it's close enough to my life that it's hard to distinguish my stress from theirs. And it just tugs and pulls on everything. But any of you who have been coming to this class for a while know that moment when there's no tugging or pulling. When you've gotten just enough of a buffer that you can slip into that place where you're still here, but the story isn't. It's a revelation. Suddenly everything's okay without having to resolve any of the crazy things happening in your life. Do you notice that? Okayness isn't dependent on the resolution of the story. Have you processed that? Those of you who have been here a while. Okayness has nothing to do with the story. That's the fundamental realization of the meditative state. That's the lie the entire world is pinned under. That their okayness is somehow determined by how the story turns out. I have news for you. The story doesn't turn out well. Ever. Even if it looks like everything's going perfectly, you still end up dropping dead. So if you're just looking for this resolution, where suddenly there are no more problems, that is never coming. Because even when the story looks like everything is going well, it's on a cycle, and the end of that cycle is your death. But what if that's okay? What if that's not a problem? Your okayness is not related to the story you're living. Your okayness is related to your beliefs about the story you're living. But in meditation, we shift our attention. We shift our attention to the breath. And as we get good at it, we start to slip into moments where actually everything is okay, even though nothing is resolved. How many times do you have to see that before you realize what it implies? That your okayness is independent of the results of the story. So Lynn is going through a rough time. Her husband had a stroke. It's a painful story. A painful story that has cycles attached to it that will continue for a while. But at the center of all of it is the release of meditation. At the center of all of it is peace. Your okayness is independent of the comfort of your loved one. Their okayness is independent of how their physical health is going. And maybe they can't realize that. And maybe you are with someone who is suffering. But do you know the greatest gift you can give somebody who is suffering is faith in their okayness. If they don't have the clarity to do that for themselves, your ability to look at them and see that big picture provides a gift to them in the moment. So don't let yourself have a story of guilt around being okay when someone you love is not okay. Two people who aren't okay, they don't cancel each other out. Someone who's weakened to a point where they can't find their okayness need you to actually be okay. And that okayness is in between every breath you take. It's in between every difficult word, every difficult moment is the vast ocean of what you are, sitting right there in between. Like the blue sky behind some clouds. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is to be okay yourself. To not magnify their suffering. Attention is so powerful. It can magnify beauty, it can magnify pain. But you are spiritual warriors. You are waking up. You've experienced peace. And when you're not feeling peaceful, you know that something is missing. When you're not feeling peaceful, you know that the forces of illusion are at work. by forces of illusion, I mean your stories. And so you stop like we do at the beginning of every class. You step deeply into this moment. Resisting nothing. Okay with exactly what's here. And that's what gets magnified. The okayness. How simple life is. For as complex as our stories are, life is what's real, and life is simple. I do readings for people. And it doesn't matter how many cards there are in the deck or how many runes there are or symbols there are to decipher. The message is always pretty darn similar. Step right into whatever's in front of you and it all resolves itself. Stop placing barriers between you and the pain in front of you. And the pain will just melt into pure awareness. Whether it's the pain of others or whether it's your own pain. Those two things are really one and the same in a lot of ways anyways. So it doesn't matter how complex life is as a story. The answer is always the same. Show up. You are the antidote to everything. You are the antidote to everything. The only time it feels like there's a problem is when you, as an awareness, are not present. The second you show up, it all gets better. Your willing presence is the antidote. And if you're with somebody suffering, their willing presence is the antidote. But if you show up as a willing presence, it magnifies the willing presence in them. how simple healing is. And it may provide some healing to your physical body, but the physical body is on a cycle. It's made to break down. Immortality is not the name of the game. Showing up for the phase you're actually in is the name of the game. The suffering you need to heal is not physical. It's psycho-emotional. You do that and the rest is fine. Stop hiding from it. Step into it in full awareness. And watch how quickly it shifts and morphs into a gift. I remember back when I was younger, when the AIDS pandemic was a more serious threat than it is today. When it was more of a death sentence. I remember meeting people who were HIV positive, but in spiritual circles. And I heard from more than one person that they wouldn't have traded their disease for anything. Having that challenge to show up for was a source of unbelievable growth and strength for them. It's what woke them up. And the rest is what? Mortality? You're already mortal. Unknown time of death? You already don't know your time of death. But having something that you can't ignore, some challenge that you actually can't get away from, that forces you to show up for it. It was a gift. Better to do that for 15 years and then die than to spend your entire life unhappy while you avoid discomforts. You will have lived less life. I've been jabbering on for a while. Let's place our attention at the forehead and crown. Let your eyes fall to a spot on the floor in front of you, or on the desk or the wall in front of you. And let's just open up into the silence of this moment. When the mind comes in to take you away, when the body comes in to tell you it's uncomfortable, I want you just to return your attention to the breath. Return your attention to the breath. In that way, your story will not get fed, and it will release, and you'll be left with what you really are. See if you can do that. See if you can do it for even 20 minutes. You can handle anything for 20 minutes, right? What's there to be seen? Forehead and crown. Watch your breath. at the center of your discomfort, at the center of your neuroses, at the center of your squirrely energy. Is an open window into the meditative state. Just see if you can be aware of it. It gets bigger in between the breaths. When you're done with the inhale, but right before the exhale. When you're done with the exhale, but right before the inhale. Nothing to do about it. Just notice it. Acknowledge it. Nothing to manipulate. The power is just in the looking. Those states of consciousness you don't know how to access. It's just about looking. There's nothing to do. Just let awareness shine upon them and they grow. The people in your life who have problems you can't fix, there's nothing to do. Just notice their okayness. And gently abide there. Real power is gentle. Gentle and consistent. Good, guys. You're so given that you've slowed time way down. Reality starts where you stop. And there you are, one more being, radiating the peace of reality. One less being making the world harder. What gets to take this away from you? What story is so real that you give up reality for it? What is your peace worth? This peace starts to build up in your body. It becomes a power you can use for all sorts of things. You get to a point where you just walk into a room and someone whose computer wasn't working starts working. Someone's rash mysteriously goes away. The beat of that power drums through the moment. And there's a resonance in any sentient life form within your vicinity. That's why you come here, isn't it? Someone holds that rhythm for you, and then you remember that rhythm in yourself. And you see how long you can sustain it. There's nothing I do that you can't do. not that special. If you're attracted to this class, you're as special as I am. This week, I want you to spend time every day outside of your stories. Set an alarm, set a time, but every day you're going to step outside of your personal story. And take some ownership of that practice. And stay there until you can feel the vibration of it starting to build. Let it ooze out of your pores a little bit. Let the environment feel you. If you really give yourself to it, it can happen very quickly. 10 minutes, 15 minutes. If you need more time, take more time. But every day, step out of your story. And when that part of you comes in to make you think that it's somehow not important, remind yourself how ridiculous it is that you continue to feed stories of suffering. We all do it. I do it too. This world's built on it. But it's a crazy thing to not want to step out of that. If you don't have the impulse to step out of that, then you really can't trust what you're feeling. And you should just do it anyways. Just once a day. Any questions about anything we said tonight? Okay, everybody. Nice to see you. I'll be back again next Thursday, and I wish you all a fantastic week.
Thank you so much. It was awesome.
Oh, I'm happy, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Wonderful class tonight.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, too.
Thank you.
Great job, everybody. I'll see you next week.